Hi everybody, it's Chris and welcome back to another video. Today I thought we'd have another look at the music press from days gone by, and today it's Sounds newspaper from March the 30th, 1974. Great year for music, 74 I fancy, and I was 11 at the time and music was really big in my life around about this time. We've got Alice Cooper on the front, who I always thought was really scary when I was that kind of age, but we've got Focus on tour, who I'd love to have seen. I rate so highly. Jan Ackerman, I think he's a fantastic guitarist. And then we've got notification that Budgie have got a new album out, which is In for the Kill, which is their heaviest album, I think, and also one of their best. And then we've got the fact that Status Quo are on tour, and this is significant for me because I saw Status Quo on this tour. I was only 11. I went with the son of a friend of my mum's who was about 16, 17, and his friend couldn't go, so I got the ticket instead. And I remember going to see them. I remember the smell, patchouli oil and dope. I didn't know what it was at the time. And Montrose were the support band, who I'd never heard of, and I can't remember, if I'm honest, other than the fact that it's a loud band playing. But wow, what a first gig. Fantastic stuff. And then over the page, we've got the fact that Robin Trower is about to bring out his masterpiece album, and that's Bridge of Sighs. ELP are on tour, some extra dates for Deep Purple. Nucleus are back on tour. The Sweet are touring the UK for the very first time. I'd love to have seen them. I think they would have been a great band. I think they're still going with Andy Scott, aren't they? Just brought out a new album, in fact. And then we've got the latest album from Argent, which is Nexus, which is half decent. And then we've got the best-selling albums and singles in the UK. Billy Don't Be a Hero, Paper Lace, number one there. We loved a bit of a novelty poppy hit, cheesy song over here in the UK. Some good songs there though, some great songs. So there's the top 30 best-selling singles, and here's the albums. Carpenters at number one. Some classics there. Burn by Deep Purple at number 12. Dark Side of the Moon, that was in the charts for years. And just over here we've got the Sounds playlist. So this, I used to love this. This is the sort of two or three songs, albums, singles that the contributors, the writers for the newspaper were listening to at the time. I always used to think it was really cool to see what they were listening to. So some fantastic albums they were regularly spinning. And then down here we've got the American top 30 albums, always reasonably different to the UK's. Barbra Streisand at number one, and then we've got the singles over the page here. And then across the page we've got an article about Nick Simper, who was the bass player in the original form of Deep Purple, talking about what he'd been up to. And then over the page we've got the fact that Deep Purple are currently burning up the States. They were on their first tour with Mark III Deep Purple and about to play the California Jam, and ELP were at that, and so were Black Sabbath. You can see a picture of Ozzy there, and just next to him we've got Steve Marriott. And then over the page an article on Suzi Quatro. I used to love her with her outsized guitar, although she was probably tiny and the guitar was normal. And then over the page we've got an article on Steel Eye Span, who I couldn't bear, can't stand that sort of music. Probably Straubs, so I'm never a massive fan of there, but then that's their tour. And then we've got an article, an interview with Brinsley Short's Nick Lowe, so a very early interview with him. Obviously he went on to lots of songs and albums he did himself, but also a lot of production work. And then down here we've got albums for sale in Comet. Comet was like an electrical store, and I remember there was not a Comet, it was called Rumbelows, which was a shop in Poole down in Dorset where I used to live, and I bought pretty much all my punk singles in there. So they used to have a good album and single selection alongside the washing machine. Same with Comet. So over the page we've got the cover story, which is Alice Cooper, and then across War Live at the Rainbow, a 2-record set from them. And then we've got Van Morrison, and then over here we've got the John Peel column. He used to write every week in the Sounds for a while, and then an article about Art Garfunkel, and then some letters over the page, including criticism in some ways of the Mike Oldfield appearance on the telly. And then we've got an album that I've never heard of, Alcuin. I don't know them, The Mountain Queen, as seen on Old Grey Whistle Test. I used to love that programme. And then we've got some album reviews. So there's Mop the Hoople, The Hoople. I don't know if that's the first album not to feature Mick Ralphs or the last one to feature him. I can't remember offhand. Mirage by Camel is here. That's a great album. And the picture there is of a guy called, I think he's Finnish, Jaka Talonen. That's a really good album, actually, if you like kind of jazz fusion stuff. Brimsley Shorts bringing out original Golden Greats, stuff from Gladys Knight. And then Busy Corner by Chili Charles, which is actually quite a nice little sort of fusion-y album. That's not bad. And then we've got lots of records to order. One of the things that always strikes me about these is that the records were really expensive back in the day, weren't they? Really expensive. Centre page is an article on Nazareth, an advert for the Sharks, who I think were a band. Was Andy Fraser in that band? I can't remember. Something to do with Free. And then we've got adverts for audio equipment, tape players and so on. And then we've got some letters, and over the page we've got the fact that Mick Ronson was indeed touring. I always felt, because he was fantastic when he played with Bowie, I think Moon Age Daydream and the performance of that at Hammersmith is one of the greatest guitar moments of all time. But Slaughter on 10th Avenue I thought was pretty average, if I'm honest. Never really got into that. Over here we've got a picture of Roy Buchanan. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with him. He's a blues player. I think he committed suicide in the early 80s. Not the man renowned for his sartorial elegance, but what a player he was. Absolutely fantastic. So, and then we've got stuff there about Blodwyn Pig and Cat Stevens, Ronnie Lane. And then over here, some reviews of the latest singles, including one by Stray. I didn't realise they'd brought out a single. King Crimson, ditto. Every Day by Slade, which was, for me, one of the last really, really good songs that they did. And then at the bottom here, we've got announcement of Emerson, Lake and Palmer playing 4 nights at Wembley with Backdoor as their support band. Some more letters, stuff to do with the Allmans, an advert for American Graffiti, and then something about Bad Company, and then an advert for Mirror of Love, which is the new single from the Kinks. They were still going strong. And at the top, an article, an interview with Guy Stevens, producer. And then we've got the tour dates, and I always find these fascinating because I'd love to have a time machine and go back in time and see some of the bands that were playing. Also the stuff that's on the radio as well. And then over the page, we've got Brownsville Station and the latest album from Johnny Winter, which is Saints and Sinners, which isn't bad. And then I love these. These would make, in fact, I don't really want to cut the paper up, but these would make great pictures in your house, I think. Kind of like a good picture for the toilet sort of thing. It's really fascinating with all the different clothing. So the fantastic shoes. I mean, look at those brilliant shoes and those loon pants and cheesecloth shirts and so on. Fantastic. And over the page, similar stuff, and then posters at the bottom. And then we've got stuff for DJs and small sounds ads, sort of, you know, personal staff, situations vacant, musicians wanted, fan clubs, records for sale, stuff about the actual musical equipment. Always had quite a lot of stuff on that. And then the back page is a one-page advert for Phaedra, Tangerine Dream's almost classic album. So there you go, there's sounds from 1974, March of that particular year. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'm sure I'll be back sometime soon with another video. Cheers all.